Welcome to Atelier 11 of this meditation series. This isn't a live group today, so I'll go through from the beginning with a short pause after the tea, and then we'll move into a compassion practice to finish with, because this week we'll be doing a mindfulness sitting practice. So setting yourself up for a sitting practice, though of course if today you're feeling like you need to do this lying down, please honour that and listen to your body's needs. This is really important. This is the key to the mindfulness, to that listening. And sometimes we do need to kind of nudge ourselves forward. I think we can particularly observe that within the movement practices. That sometimes we don't push ourselves enough. Other times we push ourselves too much. So we're learning to explore and balance that equilibrium of being playful around that. So if you want to try beginning sitting and then move into lying halfway through practice, then that's absolutely something you can do. So let's begin. Taking a moment to arrive and having that sense of having taken your seat. Feeling the points of contact that you're making with the earth and checking in with your posture. Pulling yourself up from the crown of your head like a puppet, honouring this vessel that's carried you around and got you here today. It's brought you pleasure and displeasure, let you down, and has brought you much joy. All the things. And here you are. Perhaps setting an intention for the practice to fall awake, to listen and to honour your needs. There's no right or wrong way of doing this practice. We're simply paying attention. But the mind will wander. It's what minds do. Each time we notice, we're going to bring our attention back to the body, back to the breath. So to begin with, it can be helpful to find that anchor, that point that you can bring yourself back to time and time again when you've wandered off. This is normal, this is human. Just finding something that you can anchor yourself in. Could be the tongue in the roof of your mouth, bringing yourself to the sensations. The tip of your nose, your left eyebrow, the exhalation. Just spending a few moments finding your anchor for today. When you've drifted off, you can bring yourself here. And this anchor is, of course, also useful if there are parts of the practice that become a challenge. You can move here and explore your experience of your present moment awareness. With that in mind, an invitation to bring yourself, your awareness, to your breath. Simply breathing in and breathing out, not changing that rhythm. Simply observing the flow as you breathe in and you breathe out. You might be following the full flow of the breath. You might be simply observing the out-breath. Maybe the pauses Or maybe you in one spot in particular, maybe you're at the nostrils or the back of the throat. Keep bringing your mindful attention to your breath. It's ordinary yet extraordinary experience. No two breaths are the same. They're like snowflakes. Now an invitation to expand your awareness from the breath to include all of your body, you breathing here. Perhaps noticing where you begin and end. Your boundaries, your edges, your limits. Where are you no longer you? Is it at the skin? Is it that warm air around you? Where do you stop being you and become the outside space? It becomes that outside of you and not you. Where's that? Resting in that felt sensation of what it is to be you breathing here in this body. Just as you are. Not passive, not resignation. That full presence, full attention. What it is to be living, sitting here, breathing. Watching our minds wander off, returning them. Watching them wander off again and returning them. Put the breath in the body. Felt and direct experience of what it is to be us. Practicing mindfulness. You can't get it wrong. And we also can't necessarily get it right. Simply observing the ebb and flow of what it is to be us breathing in our bodies. And as we sit here, sensations may arise that are distracting. They could be pleasant, they could be unpleasant, it could be a tickle, it could be an itch, it could be a stabbing pain, it could be a dull ache. Knowing that you've got a few options. It's how to be with the experience. Firstly, you can move. You can weave the movements into the practice, slowing them down, being deliberate, bringing that mindful attention to the movement, noticing the heaviness, the lightness, the textures, the colours, the shapes, the sounds, how your body knows what to do. Weaving the movement into your meditation. It doesn't need to be separate or part of it, or a part. And it doesn't need to be something that you criticize yourself for, judge. No shoulds or shouldn'ts. We're simply observing our bodies, paying attention to their needs, moving, adjusting, and observing the after effects. I felt sensation of satisfaction, maybe disappointment that the movement didn't change anything. Your direct and felt experience, being with the sensations in our bodies. The second option is that we explore what it is to rest with the sensations. That, resisting that urge to dive in and fix it and sort it and change it, and observing it. The tingles and the sensations. Do they feel hot, warm, cool, tingling? Is it a throbbing sensation? Is it a dull ache? Does it feel like a heavy stone? Does it feel like a pin pricking into you? What exactly is the sensation? Where is it? Does it end? Where do you no longer feel the sensation? Does it feel round or square? Or is it a cube? Is it a sphere? Does it have colours? Being interested and curious as to what it is, the experience. If you had to write it down or colour it in or draw it, what would it look like? Where is it? Is it all over, or is it in one specific spot? Simply being with our experiences as they are and being curious and interested in ourselves. Letting go of the stories and the judgments and the criticisms and the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, and simply being with ourselves as we are, all that we are, with our aches and our tingles and the scratches, all the bits that we want to scratch. The pleasant sensations, how perhaps we're drawn to them. And perhaps what we thought was a discomfort isn't. That it's interesting, that you're interesting. That your body is sending you messages throughout the day that go completely ignored. And that right now we're taking this time to pay attention to it, to listen, observe, without changing what's here now. We breathe in our bodies. And then the third option is that we can use the breath. We can direct our breath to the sensation, either around it, into it. We can use a breath that's like blowing out candles, or one that's like fogging up a mirror. We could do one long, deep breath, breathing into it and around it. Simply a soft blow around the edges. And knowing that those 3 options are available to you throughout the practice. You can move. You can explore the sensation. And then you have the breath. Breathe into or around the sensation. Try all 3. And then if the sensation changes, rest with it, or you can return your attention back to your direct experience of your breath in your body. Perhaps something else has popped up somewhere else, or you can return back to where you were. You can come in and out of the breath within the body. You have choices as to how you respond to your experiences, even in this still practice. And now an invitation to bring your attention to your experience of sounds. Sounds as sounds. Sounds from my space into your space. The sounds of your body. The room you're in. Your neighborhood. What is your direct and felt experience of sounds as sounds? Do they occur on one side of the body more than another? Do they move? Do they have a shape? A color? Texture? There's no right or wrong way of being with sounds. We're simply observing and being playful around our direct experience of them. Now the sounds coming out of my mouth. And making some kind of sense to you in your space, this time that you've carved out of your busy day to practice this mindfulness meditation. As we sit in quiet, breathing in our bodies, observing our direct experience of sounds as sounds, how the mind labels, creates stories, fills in the gaps based on our experiences. In our body, families, our cultures, our environments. Sounds as sounds. Now an invitation to move your attention away from your experience of sounds to thoughts. Thoughts as thoughts, they're not facts. So as we've observed in the sound part, we can fill in the gaps and create stories. Sounds that passes by might take the shape of a car or person or an animal. We can picture them. And we're taking this moment now to observe our thoughts as thoughts. So stepping outside of them, observing them like a river flowing past with bits of twig and whatever, leaves. How some bits get stuck behind rocks and some feel permanent. Some move by quickly. But observing your thoughts as thoughts. Don't need to stick your head into the water. You can watch. You're watching a television screen with adverts popping up. Some are more interesting than others, as best you can. Bringing an awareness to your felt and direct experience of your thoughts as thoughts. Your mind wanders, which it will, returning it to that anchor and to your direct experience of your thoughts, where you feel them in the body. Do they feel hot, cold, tingling? Do they move? Thoughts as thoughts. I'm just checking in with your posture every now and again, not slumped. breath and the body are always there to anchor you in the present moment when you get lost on one of those trains of thought. Your mind drags us into. And if thoughts particularly intoxicating, you can tell yourself, I'll attend to you later. And as best you can, bringing yourself back to your direct and felt experience of being with your thoughts, observing them. You have those three options available to you. You can move yourself away from the thought. You can explore the direct and physical sensation of it. And you can use the breath, perhaps giving a sense of spaciousness. Breathe into and around the thought and the experience of it. Not trying to change anything, we're learning to be with things as they are. And now an invitation to move your attention away from thoughts. Bring your attention to your experience of emotions. What emotions are you feeling? What can you notice? And what are they? Where are they? Do they tingle? Do they have shapes, colours, textures? What can you notice? Perhaps heaviness, perhaps lightness. It's a restless tingling. Maybe a dull ache. What emotions can you notice in them? Where and what are they? You had to write them down or draw them, paint them or sculpt them. And again, you have those options. You can move yourself away from the emotion, weaving it into the practice, bringing that deliberate attention to it, focusing on where it begins and ends. And then that third option of breathing into and around it, again, giving that sense of spaciousness. You have choices. How we are with our experiences. They don't need to be changed or fixed. We can explore them differently. This mindful way. Being curious and interested and observing ourselves as if for the first time with that beginner's mind. And then letting go of paying attention to anything in particular. We're going to move into a period of choiceless awareness, simply allowing yourself to go where you want to go, like letting a child into a park, a dog off the lead. Maybe you want to go back to the breath. Maybe you want to finish that shopping list. You want to go back to sounds. Now an invitation to bring your attention back to your breath, following the flow of your breath as you breathe in and you breathe out. Noticing the pauses, perhaps focusing on one point in particular, perhaps following the full flow, just not changing the rhythm, allowing it to breathe itself, allowing your breath to breathe itself, breathing in and breathing out. And then expanding that awareness from the breath to include all of your body. Extending your awareness to your edges, to the end of you. You breathing in your body. I'm just going to bring this practice to a close with a poem by Valerie Cox called Cookie Thief. So resting in stillness just a few more moments. A woman was waiting at an airport one night, with several long hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shop, bought a bag of cookies and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book, but happened to see that the man beside her, as bold as could be, grabbed a cookie or two from the bag between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. She munched cookies and watched the clock as this gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. And when only one was left, she wondered what he'd do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve and he's also rude. Well, he didn't even show any gratitude. She had never known when she had been so galled, and sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed for the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat, then sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned with despair, then the others were his, and he tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. So moving, stretching, doing what you need to do. Let's take tea. So an invitation to press pause at this moment and reflect about your direct experience of what it was to be in your body and to be exploring it in that way, with those 3 techniques that were thrown in. And for those of you who don't want to press pause and continue, I'm going to explore with you some of the direct experiences that I felt within that. So within the breath in the body, I had a tingling here that I decided not to scratch. I really wanted to scratch it. And instead, I sort of observed it, and it felt like it was round with layers. So there was the tingly bit, which was quite clear and round, and then it kind of became less intense. And then there was a softness around it. So it was almost like a layered experience. And then the tingling on the outside felt quite pleasant. And yeah, it was kind of like widening out my focus. The center was like red, really bright red, and then it went sort of white, and then it went kind of like a creamy, sort of wavy experience. And then there was my left shoulder, which there always is. So it's almost like within that practice, I kind of expect it to arise, but actually it wasn't as interesting as the tingle here. And something to be mindful of is the sensations that we experience. For example, if you ever want to sneeze, the sensations that arrive before, during, and after can be quite fun to play with. And a cough is something to be careful with, because you can end up exploding if you sort of hold it. Again, an opportunity to be with our bodies and to explore them directly. And then this then gives us an opportunity to use this outside of the space of the practice. So all these neural pathways that we're building when we relate and explore our bodies in a different way. And then those 3 techniques are available to you outside of the practice, in moments of stress, moments of challenge, that we can drop into our bodies, be with the experience, explore the shapes and colors, direct the breath, move, give ourselves some space in some situations where we feel trapped as well. So, having done a little bit of a waffle, we're going to close with a mindful compassion practice, which you may be familiar with, the soften and allow. Okay, so just bringing yourself to a sitting position, or again lying down. This isn't particularly long, and I'll include it in the home practice. So a form of it. Excuse me. Okay. So taking a moment to arrive in your body as you are, sitting for a long time. Wiggle, stretch, and then set yourself up in a sitting posture that's dignified, graceful, and having some respect for this vessel that's carrying us around and gets ignored and mistreated, as well as pampered and taken care of. Breathing in and breathing out. And finding an anchor within the breath or within your body that you can bring your attention to within this short mindful compassion practice. Just finding that point, that anchor. And you wandered off. You can bring yourself back. Wandered off. You can bring yourself back. Practicing this present moment awareness. Now I want you to bring into your mind's eye a minor challenge that you're facing, a difficulty. Maybe something that you're putting off doing, something you regret. Again, I'm going to use my words, not too juicy and too traumatic. Perhaps you've got to pay a bill or got a fine or broke a cup, or you've got to make a phone call to the bank that you don't want to make. Whatever, just finding something that's erring a bit. The right word, but just think of something. And once you've got that scenario, that experience in your head, I'm going to invite you to drop into the felt sensation of it. Where is it? What is this experience in your body? How does your body experience it? We spend so much time in our heads with these things, with these scenarios, and when we're just taking a few moments to explore how our body interprets it. What does our body do? Where in the body is this experience? Because these hormones are there, these stress responses are here in the body. Where do they go? What do they look like? Do they have a shape? Do they have a color? Do they have a texture? I'm going to invite you to soften around the experience. Soften around those sensations. You can say that to yourself if that's helpful. Soften. Soft. Soft. And then allowing your experience to be as it is, that you don't need to change it. We can be with this difficulty as it is in our bodies and notice and explore. So you softened. Can you allow? You can say those words if that's helpful. Allow. 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 Give yourself permission to feel and notice your experience. Soften and allow. Soften and allow. Soften and allow. And one final thing to add in. It's an invitation. You can decline it. To love. You respond in the way that you do for a multitude of reasons. Supported you to get through some pretty challenging experiences, no doubt. So in softening and allowing your experience to be as it is, invitation to love. 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 Soften. Allow. And love. Don't necessarily have to like the experience, but that unconditional love. Soften. Allow. Turn towards yourself with compassion and kindness, love. Soften, allow, and love. And now an invitation to place a hand on your heart and one on your belly. You can say these words out loud or internally. May I be well. May I be at ease. And may I be kind to myself and others. May I be well. May I be at ease. And may I be kind to myself and others. May I be well. May I be at ease. And may I be kind to myself and others. And as best you can, taking this sense of connection and awareness into whatever you have left to do with your day. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll join you for our final session, final atelier of the season, this series next time.